Hello and welcome back to the Disc Dungeon and the special Dove Dive, where I'm put onto musics and melodies in the deepest, darkest dungeons of your computer disc. And with me in this special Dove Dive is none other than steampunk and blues artist Jared Presley. Jared, welcome to the Disc Dungeon. How does it feel to be in the dark depths, all the way from the safety of your home?
Oh, it's all good. I like the seats.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, the cinema seats. It reminds me of the cinema I went to as a kid. One of them, anyway.
Yeah. This is cool. For those of you listening to strictly the podcast, you can see the live version on YouTube, and our background is a movie theater because we are partnered with To Be Seen and Pop Culture Spread. So there's nothing better than movie seat backgrounds. So Jared, let us dive into a bit of your music and sound. Let us find out about you so that the listeners can therefore find you on the internet and listen to the music. I would just got to say, we met on Instagram and I was blown away by your aesthetic. You have this look that just stands out, and it made me want to dive into your music fray. I actually went as far as finding you on different places and listening to your music, and your guitar work is stellar. So if you could just give me a little bit of the genesis of why you chose the steampunk aesthetic, I'd love to have the people learn why you chose that way.
Oh, sure. Been playing for over 20 years, but as far as wearing that, I've worn other costumes, but when I play out live, it's typically that, even from the last time I played out live. And really, I've always tried to dress up nice, whatever it is. I really believe that. I mean, that's like, I just don't want to have a t-shirt and shorts. I mean, it really should catch people's eye, because usually that's what people remember after a show. It's more about what they see and not hear.
Right. Just like when you go into a record store back in the day, for me anyway, and you pick up an album based off the cover of the album art. It's kind of the same thing. What people see is what they're going to first remember. And then it's going to be the music. That makes so much sense.
Oh,
so, yeah. And speaking of your guitar work, what led you to become a guitarist?
First started playing, it was about 98. Really just music I was listening to. Two guitarists, I would say, would be Tony Iommi and Eddie Van Halen. Were the two that I was listening to, and I really wanted to play guitar. I was like, that sounds cool. And then that kind of led off. And obviously, there's many other guitarists I've studied, etc. since that time. I would say that's kind of what started.
You fastened your style into that. And I see you can hear the blend of those things just kind of blissfully playing in your ear when you listen to your music. What about your vocals?
Most of the vocals that I have done was actually done by my drummer. I helped with writing the lyric. Most of the vocals he did. So most of what I've done is instrumental. And so typically I don't sing on the records anyway. I still, at some point, I want to do that, but I'm really, really want to get my voice to the point where I'm confident enough to do that. So I've definitely have had other people sing on different tunes, but it hasn't been me yet.
Okay.
But at some point, it's just
it will be. It's up and coming, folks. You hear it here first. He's working on it.
At some point.
At some point. I got to do the obvious. You know, your last name's Presley. I got to know. Are you related to the king?
It's very distant. It's like the same ancestor. It's so far removed. Like it's very far. Like I might as well not be.
Like you and I have a better chance of being related than you and him.
Pretty much.
Yeah, the distance is spread. Oh, that's cool. Well, I mean, one thing I noticed looking at your IG page is you've traveled a lot, and I know you've played a lot of different venues. What are some of your favorites? What like a highlight reel? What are your top 3 venues, best sound and reaction from the crowd?
Well, one of them is really where the record labels that's on Bandcamp and Spotify is through Radio Artifact, which is through the venue Urban Artifact, that brewery in Cincinnati. That sounds really good. Highly suggest if you ever are in Cincinnati to check that out. And we've talked about that before through Instagram. But as far as Cincinnati, as far as music venues, that would be, I would say that would have to be my favorite.
And I know you like the steampunk aesthetic. Were you able to play any Art Deco spots? Because that kind of blends in with your look, with your theme.
Not yet. Not yet that I can recall anyway. That would be nice, but unfortunately, I really haven't seen too many of those spots around the Midwest and South anyway. It's most of where I played. Some up north too. But it's someday, hopefully. I don't know of a lot of venues that look like that. That would be awesome, though. And speaking on that note, I think we both first were on Instagram. We got connected through architecture.
Correct.
That's something we both really like. And that is something with music venues. Sometimes it's amazing how they look, and sometimes it's just this hole in the wall, like bar that's like in this dilapidated building.
Right. Right.
You know,
Danger.
No, I mean, really, I've been in played in venues that was surprised it wasn't condemned.
Oh, wow.
But
so you're like belting out guitar solos and you're thinking, boy, if I jump on the stage, I might fall right through it.
Sometimes that's the funnest places to play because, it's just crazy.
Yeah, that's got to be rough. I'm a big architecture fan, and I'm kind of spoiled because I'm in the greater New York area.
Yes.
And one of my favorite places is the Beacon Theater, which has that look that I think you would really appreciate. Even if you go,
I've seen it in photos, and next time I'm up there, I want to visit there. I've been in New York City. It's so big, like obviously that you can't see it all within a few days. But I definitely want to. It really is amazing, though.
Yeah, I recently was able to go to the Palladium Theater in Albany. And I think that's another place you would probably really appreciate. That the whole city of Albany has just got this great amalgamation of artwork and venues that just stand out. And I think for you as a guitarist and music performer, you would really appreciate playing that Palladium. The inside is just awe-inspiring. It's breathtaking.
Oh, awesome. I mean, even just to see a show or whatever there, I mean, that would really be nice if ever I'm in Albany.
What's some of the music that you're working on currently?
Oh, well, with COVID, I mean, obviously I haven't been playing out. And I really haven't been playing out. My drummer who I was with for a few years moved. And we still are connected. We still work on music together. But so I was solo for a while. But at this point, in the last couple of years, I've just been recording, etc. I've made no real plans of playing on live. Again, someday we'll see within the next year or two, or I'll have a better idea.
Well, I've noticed that you started to play like guitar on live every now and then on Instagram.
I do.
Yeah. Was that something maybe you wanted to build up and start doing?
I mean, it's nice.
YouTube channel, maybe.
I mean, it's nice. You don't have to leave your studio. You can just do it, especially during COVID,
Right.
And you have an audience that's beyond central to the city. I mean, you can have people watching from wherever, whenever, because I mean, unless you market private or whatever, the live videos, you can watch them after that point.
Right.
So there's really no excuse for someone oh, I can't make the show, etc. So that's nice. Though there's still something about playing live, though, in an actual venue with actual people, or seeing a show. If I'm in the audience, seeing the show with actual people. There's a social aspect to it.
I mean, the connection that you make with the audience as a performer, I'm sure is just not the same texting people, so to speak, in chat rooms. It's a lot nicer when you're playing in front of a live audience. You feel that reaction. The electricity is kind of unparalleled to feel. I know I'm not a performer. I'm a hype man, I guess you'd say. But being in the audience and feeling that electricity is still a massively phenomenal experience. And I'm sure as a performer, on the other end, it's probably feels the same, and that's something you're probably dying to get back to.
Well, for good shows, anyway, it is. Sometimes it's not as much, but that all depends. But in the audience, and I see what you mean by that, because even watching it on, it's not the same. I get what you mean. I miss going to shows as I used to. They just don't have as many anymore, and especially now with the new variant, so many shows are done canceled, etc. And that's why I haven't really played out live. And it gets into a long discussion, but in short, I'm rebranding and experimenting with some new things and sound. So eventually I will play out live again, but it will be in some ways different than what I did before.
So you're basically in a chrysalis at the moment. You're going to emerge from your cocoon as a brand new artist, so to speak.
Well, yeah, I was focusing on cleaner sounds, different sounds, less distortion, just different genre, because playing lead guitar in the heavier rock genre, I enjoyed it. It's just I did it for years. I wanted to do something else.
So more like a more back to bluesy
Yeah,
type of sound. Yeah.
because I just didn't want to repeat myself. And at that point, I'm getting old. Part of it's just getting older, and like I've done it for years. I want to do something else. That's just me, though. That's just kind of how I wanted to do that.
Perfect sense. You always got to reinvent yourself as you get older. I think of some of my favorite music artists, the guy named Joe Sumner from Fiction Plane. He's changed his style. He was very energetic and bouncy when he was in Fiction Plane, and now he's kind of like, I don't want to say mellowed out because his voice is so powerful and his guitar work is very good too. But he reinvents himself and changes a little bit to kind of also match the times and how your reflection is personally.
Well, that's good. I mean, you wouldn't want him to sounding like the first album every single time.
Right.
So it's good like that he does that.
And it's the same thing that you've got to do, I suppose.
Well, it's an art. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
it is.
and it's evolving. You want to say new things. You want to do new things. So I feel like that's part of that.
Right.
With music or any other type of art form anyway.
That's for sure. That's for sure. Are you also going to change your outward appearance? Are you going to move away from steampunk and like kind of adventure or cosplay type of?
I'll dress up nice.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'll still have steampunk to some degree, and it all depends on the show, weather, etc. But I imagine to some degree it'll still stay.
All right, good, because that's still the coolest thing.
No, it'll still. Yeah, I'll still have it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And is there something that you're excited about that's upcoming? General music for you, for your personal music?
Oh,
because I know you're going through this transformation or transfiguration, and is there something maybe like a new guitar riffs that you're excited about that you're mastering at the moment?
Honestly, if I see a show with friends, I mean, that usually inspires me. So, I mean, and it's so hard nowadays, but if I do see something where I'm free, I mean, especially now, within the last couple of weeks, work was busy for the last few months, so I have a lot more time now. So that's nice if I can go out and see other musicians perform. It's very inspiring. And I feel like I've missed that, especially during the heyday of COVID. I really feel it now. And I feel like more than anything, music-wise, that's what inspires me and really gets me going as far as like writing, practicing, etc.
And when you get into your writing moments, do you like have to lock yourself away in your own disc dungeon, so to speak, or are you more fluid that you can be out in the park and just kind of jot things down?
It really depends. Since it's mostly instrumental, most of it would have to be done in the studio. But there's different points where if I'm out and if I think of a melody, I can jot it down. I'm not the best singer at this point, but as far as melodies, at different points, I'll think of a melody and write it down. And then, like, once I'm back in the studio, I'll play it on the guitar, and there's usually adjustments I have to do. Because sometimes when I hear it in my head and put it on the guitar, sometimes I feel like I'll change it up because it'll sound better. It's hard to explain.
No, I totally get it. And you mentioned that you're not the singer on your album. So it's funny, like, if you listen to your music, I would assume that that's you singing.
No. So in the credit, it'll show, just to let you know, on the Bandcamp site especially, I'm not sure how Spotify is, but each song, there is the credits. So the vocalist will be credited. There's a few upcoming vocal songs. It's a few different ones, but the one that you've probably seen was the drummer, Paul Urrutia, who played drums for me for years and co-wrote a lot of the songs.
Right. I mean, for me, a lot of the times when I listen on Spotify, when I see you, I know it's not you singing because I see you playing the guitar on the YouTube stuff. But when I hear you on Spotify, so I always immerse myself in the imagery that comes in my own head. So I'm usually just picturing you with the Indiana Jones hat and the spectacles, and you're the singer. So
I have done the same thing with Spotify. As a musician, you don't know what instrument they play, and sometimes you don't know who the singer is. You just see the musicians, and you can kind of get them mixed up. I've done that, like on the CD. If I didn't see the credits, I was like, "Oh, that's the singer." No, that was just the bass player.
Right.
So you get that in your head. So I know I totally get that.
So tell people where they can find you so that they can catch a glimpse of some of your upcoming work, and how folks can listen to your current and previous works so that they know where to go. And then for those folks that are listening on just the podcast, you can go to our YouTube page /ToBeSeen.com and check out this interview in the video format, which is kind of fun, and have all the links in one space to listen to Jared's great work. So go ahead, Jared.
One place on Bandcamp, there is the label that I'm on, Radio Artifact, and they have a lot of great musicians on there as well. I highly, highly recommend listening to the other ones as well. But through Bandcamp, Radio Artifact is one, and I believe on Spotify they have their own channel. But you can find me on Spotify under my name. I believe you can also find that label on Spotify under that name as well.
Perfect. Hey, man, I really appreciate you taking the time out and speaking with us in the dark depths of the Disc Dungeon, having a blast learning about you. And
so good.
Yeah, and we will hopefully hear more of your music right after that.
I appreciate it, Joe, very much.
Anytime. We'll have you back on in the future. And when you come up with your new work, we definitely want to hear some of it too. So thank you so much. And we'll talk to you later. Thanks for listening to this podcast. Please, if you haven't already, subscribe to the podcast channel where Julie and I will dive deep into music forays. And if you can follow our socials on Instagram and Twitter, you want to take a look at Disc Dungeon at Disc Dungeon to listen to both, see all our photos, and all the fun we're having on social medias. We're going to listen to one more track from Jared before we go. Jared, thank you so much for being a part of the show. And we will talk to you next time in the dark depths of the Disc Dungeon. Please, with the current controversy, if you're not listening to us on Spotify, please be sure to jump over to iTunes or Google Podcast, wherever they are nowadays, maybe iHeartRadio. Give us a like there, share us with your friends, and we'll talk soon.